This is Ray Willian Johnson, a YouTuber with over 18 million subscribers. He is known from the now dead platform, Vine, and comedy skits. Now he does true story videos. In one of his videos, Ray tells us the story of Pedro, known as Pedrinho Matador in Brazil. But the problem is, Ray tells a fake story right at the beginning.
So this YouTuber killed at least 71 different people. So he then tracks down the deputy mayor in front of the town hall, and he pulls out a shotgun, and blam, he shoots him and he unalives him.
Yes, the story that Pedrinho killed the mayor is fake. But that's not the biggest lie. That would be the statement he killed 71 people. Pedrinho is a Brazilian myth. He was the type of person people tell thrilling stories about. A killer with a code of honor, and at the same time, an impulsive beast. But there would be no mercy for the rapist or femicide. At the side of insane stories, there is many. Some says he killed someone because the person snored too much. At another time, he murdered the person who gave him a soft handshake while being overly friendly.
Hoje o cara conhece você agora, já bate. Oxe, isso aqui é meu amigão. Como? Conheceu o cara ontem?
Daqui 2 semanas dá...
Cara, fazer isso pra mim, eu não falo nada. Antes, eu já matava. Antes, quando eu era assassino. Eu já matava, tá? Porque eu já sei que é falso. Cara, quando vai pegar uma mão, né? Pega aquele mãozinho. No olho dentro dos seus olhos. Pode dar bordoada que vai te trair.
Era motivo já na época. Sim.
Não é pessoa sincera.
But this makes us wonder, when did Pedro's myth start and how it got so popular? Pedrinho's story starts in two ways, depending on who is telling his myth. Pedrinho's version effectively starts with him killing his cousin in a sugarcane mill machine. His version is shocking due to his cruelty.
Né? Trabalhava com meu avô. Primeiro crime que eu fiz o quê? Joguei um primo meu, não primo, aquele primo afastado de longe, né? E ele me deu um soco nos olhos por causa de um cavalo, que eu tinha pegado o cavalo dele para dar um rolê, né? E ele, falei, vou matar você. Ele ainda me deu uns pontapés ainda, né? Me deu uns pontapés ainda. Foi quando eu peguei ele, que eu trabalhava no navio com meu avô também, né? E a cana antigamente era grossa e ficava para passar. E eu tô pensando que uma pessoa passa que nem a cana, mas não passa.
No moinho lá pra moer.
Mas eu pensava isso, né? Só passou o braço, né? Aí a máquina entalou, começou a chiar. Aí os capatazes, meu avô, desligaram a máquina lá, né? E foi isso, primeiro crime meu. De Gerais foi isso aí.
One of the podcast members even asks if he felt some kind of remorse or terror. But Pedrinho states he felt nothing special. In Ray's version, he starts by killing the mayor.
In 1968, he gets some news that really pisses him off. His dad is working as a security guard, and some people accuse him of stealing food from the cafeteria. And then the town deputy mayor wants dad to be fired, and so bam, the school fires him. And this really upsets Pedro. Like, he can't just let this slide. So he then tracks down the deputy mayor in front of the town hall, and he pulls out a shotgun, and blam, he shoots him and he unalives him.
There are only two problems with Ray's version. The first problem is that Pedrinho tells this as being his second kill, and he says he killed someone analogous to the deputy mayor, but the story is very confusing to follow.
I killed for him.
How did you kill for him?
I killed for him because the mayor was supposed to review everything. No, he didn't review anything. He sent my father away with no rights to anything, 12 years in the position.
It was the vice mayor.
It wasn't really the vice mayor because he was on vacation. It was someone who stayed in his place.
Acting mayor?
That's it, got it.
And how did you kill him?
At the door of his house, arriving with his jeep.
The second problem is that there is no death register relating the death of the mayor or the deputy mayor to Pedrinho. About the deputy mayor, I searched several sites containing old records of that period, and not only I haven't found who the deputy mayor is, there's almost zero information about the mayor himself and other people from that time. Most of the crimes Pedrinho committed are related to his life in prison, where he fully assumed this persona of a killer or psychopath, with tattoos reinforcing this idea. One even says, "I'll kill for pleasure." But at the same time he assumed a killer code of honor: no kids, no women. One relevant murder is of another prisoner, killed because the inmate had killed a woman, but even this story has second tellings.
No final da década de 80, início da década de 90, ele entrou numa penitenciária e aí ele tinha um amigo de cela, e esse amigo de cela era numa época que recebia a esposa no corredor e eles conversavam por entre a grade. E aí este amigo de cela teria dado uma chave de braço num mata-leão na mulher pela grade e enforcou a mulher ali na frente de todo mundo. O Pedrinho, pra se vingar desta mulher, matou o cara. Tipo, não, tu não pode matar a mulher. Que ainda tinha esse código, eu só mato homem, não mato mulher. E tu matou uma mulher, eu vou te matar. Queria matar o maníaco porque tu matava mulheres. Essa morte realmente aconteceu, mas o diretor da cadeia, que ainda é vivo, e um agente penitenciário que também é vivo, que eu conversei com ele, disseram, olha, ele realmente matou, ele realmente veio com essa desculpa, porque ele matou a mulher, o cara realmente tinha matado essa mulher, esse crime aconteceu, mas esse cara era líder, que tinha o líder da galeria, tinha o líder da cadeia, o líder da galeria e o líder da cela. E ele era líder da galeria.
Entendi.
Como ele matou este cara dentro da cela, os outros ficaram com medo do Pedrinho e elegeram ele como líder. Ou seja, por que ele matou? Para ter poder dentro da cadeia e não para vingar a morte da mulher que ele nem conhecia. E aí que ele descobriu que jornalista caía muito facilmente nessas lorotas de cadeia. E ele diz, olha, jornalista adora uma história de crime.
E ainda com números grandes ainda, né?
Exatamente. Ele disse, olha...
You can now start to picture how Pedrinho became a myth. He would kill someone, gain respect, emit the aura of a psychopath, then people would start to create more and more lies based on him. Then Pedrinho tells journalists lies about himself. They would then proceed to spread those lies even further. People in prison tell insane and inflammatory stories about Pedrinho. Journalists hear those stories and the cycle continues. Now tell me, who is going to confront a man that everyone says is one of the biggest killers in the country? One interesting interview is Pedrinho with Cabrini, a known journalist that interviews several high-level criminals, and it's also very sensationalist. In the interview, he makes sure to let Pedrinho tell all the insane killing stories, but obviously never showing actual reference for the information, be it news outlets, police reports, or some prison data.
I took the women, the kids. We threw everyone up to the upper floor. Right, I know I killed 8 people that day.
8 people.
8 people and injured 16.
At the wedding,
Only his mother was injured in the arm.
in a single day, you murdered 8 people
8 people.
and injured 16.
At a wedding,
All men.
all men. Only his mother got a little injured in the arm, but the blame was hers herself.
I was able to find one place that said he killed 7, but even so, it has the same problems as every bad newsletter based on Pedrinho's past.
When Pedrinho turned 19 years old, he already had 14 deaths on his record.
Nobody killed more than you. Are you aware of that?
As far as I know, no.
Based on what phone? Themselves?
And in prison, he kills at least 47 inmates.
Let me understand. he killed 14 before and at least 47 in prison. Which is a very masked way of saying you don't actually know how many he killed. But this means he killed at least 61 people. This gets even more insane with the next killing spree.
Pedrinho, how was the night of the transsexuals?
Zizinho from Villa Maria, you know, and one of those gays told him, to the Faxina, that she had slept with him on the street, out of spite, because she liked him and he didn't want anything with her. I know it created a revenge for him to die in prison, and that she started acting big toward him, and he was sentenced to death. The next day, check this out, check it out. I went and swore revenge. I said, look, in the gallery on the 4th floor upstairs, I'm gonna kill all your women, because back then gay inmates were the women of scoundrel, real scoundrel. I'm gonna kill them all. What is this? I'm gonna kill them all. I don't want war with you, because you're men, you're scoundrel. I don't want war with you. Okay. To not have war with you, I'm gonna kill all your women. That's when we did the inaudible. We killed 16 gay inmates. Me and Zizinho from Villa Maria.
Just you and how many more?
Me and him stabbing. They were screaming so much. I stayed from 2 days to 3 months deaf from so much screaming.
They don't show any record of that time, any official document. Here again, the truth is only bound to Pedrinho. This is probably the only part of Ray's video that has parts of truth, even if it's the most fake piece of Pedrinho's story. Pedrinho had problems with his father, and it was something he talked about a lot in therapy.
The lieutenant, the sergeant at the cell gate, said, Pedro, your mother was murdered. We're going to inform the judge, so you can see her body. Do you want to go? I said, I do. And I went. It was around 1:02 in the afternoon. I went to the morgue. I saw her body all full of holes, all torn up.
Where exactly was he when you killed him? Your father?
My father, he was in prison, in the district.
How exactly did you manage to get there?
Mumbles something.
You were locked up too, right?
I was locked up.
Do you remember the moment you saw your father that day? Where was he?
He was inside the cell. It wasn't his yard time.
He was inside the cell.
Inside the cell.
Then you went into the cell.
He and a bunch of others. When I busted the padlock, opened the door, everyone rushed out. That whole crowd rushed out. And he stayed standing in the corner by the wall. When I got to him, he said, You're right, my son. I didn't want to know. It was fast. The police were already all coming. Right. They were hitting me with the butt of the gun, and I was stabbing and getting hit with the gun butt blows.
Did you stare straight at him?
I did. Of course. He was right in front of me, and he even said, You're right, my son.
Right about what?
He said those words, You're right, my son.
After supposedly killing his father, he talks about how he took his father's heart and bit off a piece of it. Let's use our brains for a single second. Yes, I'm talking mostly to you, Ray. How would he be able to bite the heart of his father? There are structures in place of our bodies that protect our hearts. He would need a lot of time and a full-on preparation to remove his father's heart. He couldn't have time for it. Another important fact is that he claims he stabbed his father 22 times, choosing that number on purpose because his mother was stabbed 21 times. But how did he know about this? Who told him? And why in this specific way? This is another part of the narrative of him killing his father. However, the main issue is that his father died of natural causes in prison.
Na minha pesquisa, conversando com familiares dele, o pai realmente matou a mãe, mas o pai morreu no sistema, morreu preso com mais de 50 anos. Morreu se eu não me engano, foi uma tuberculose que o pai morreu. Não tem consenso. Uns dizem que foi uma tuberculose, outros dizem que foi uma pneumonia, enfim. No sistema penal, naquela época, na década de 80, morria em embrulha para presente que ninguém...
Eu vi que aquela persona do matador não ornava com a simplicidade dele, a humildade dele, entendeu? Ele parecia mais uma criança que estava descobrindo o mundo. Porque sempre eu perguntava, ele, eu perdi a conta, ele tinha uma tatuagem de uma faca na perna, e ele apagou a maioria, né? E com as gotinhas de sangue. Tinha, acho que umas 3, 4, 5 gotinhas de sangue. Aí eu falava, Pedrinho, mas se você matou tantas pessoas, por que só tem essas gotinhas de sangue aqui? Que ele falava que cada vez que ele matava, ele tatuava uma gotinha de sangue. É porque depois eu perdi as contas, aí eu não sei mais quantos foram.
After Pedrinho left the prison permanently, he started to change his life. But he was still a very troubled man. He would go as far as to think that his life mission was to kill people and be jailed. He had mental issues with his own vision of self. Lying started as a way of gathering power and escaping his terrible reality. One where he had a dysfunctional family and his father could kill his mom, which at some point sadly becomes a reality.
Ele se sentia extremamente culpado pela morte do pai. Da mãe, desculpa.
Porque a mãe dele realmente o pai que matou.
Sim.
Tá.
E foi assim. Segundo o que ele me contava, aos 12 anos, o pai já não aceitava ele se aproximar da casa da família. Porque ele peitou o pai com uma arma e falou, se você bater nela de novo, eu te mato. E aí o pai passou a andar armado e não deixava ele chegar perto. Ele ia escondido falar com a mãe e tal. E aí ele foi preso em maio de 1973 e logo em seguida o pai matou a mãe. Então ele carregou essa culpa assim, e ele me relatava que foi um período que ele tinha medo dele mesmo, que ele queria matar todo mundo, que só aplacou essa fúria depois que ele matou o pai.
Another story that reinforces this narrative of a broken man is one of his infancy, told by his psychoanalyst.
É muito singular. No dia do funeral dele, eu conversei com a irmã dele, porque eu não queria ficar tocando nesses assuntos, mas com muito tato eu fui, conversando. E ela me falou, e é uma coisa também que agora eu tenho que rever, que o Pedro, ele nasceu em Minas. A certidão de nascimento dele é de Mogi. Essa irmã me falou que quando ele tinha por volta dos 7 anos, já pela briga com o pai, ele fugiu e parece que ele caiu na mão de um aliciador de menores. E, na época, a mãe dele ficou desesperada, foi no Gil Gomes, foi em vários programas pedir para procurar o filho dela. Aí encontraram o cadáver de um menino que batia com a descrição do Pedro. Então, a mãe foi lá reconhecer o corpo, falaram que era o Pedro, ela não
disse que era.
Ela não disse que era e continuou procurando. E aí, isso foi a irmã dele que me contou, tá? E aí, um belo dia, chega uma viatura do Conselho Tutelar, ele todo marcado, queimado de cigarro, cabelo enorme, cheio de piolho, assim, um caco. Aí o cara do Conselho Tutelar falou assim, olha, ele caiu na mão do pior tipo de gente. Eu não sei se ele vai ter recuperação.
Nossa.
According to her, Pedrinho had mythomania, and he used this to cope with many problems in life. One more thing that could help us get the full picture is his father's words when Pedrinho supposedly murdered him. Pedrinho tells us that his father looked at him and said, "You're right, my child," as Pedrinho murdered him. Now that we know Pedrinho's full story, we can understand why he created it. He wanted validation, both for his hatred for his father and the violence in his life.
Eu falei, Pedrinho, por que você acha que você está no mundo? Ele falou, eu estou no mundo para matar e pegar cadeia. Aí eu falei assim, mas você está solto já há quase 3 anos e você não quer recomeçar a tua vida, foi muitos anos preso. Ele falou assim, não, eu não aguento mais puxar cadeia, só que esse tempo que eu estou fora, está todo mundo me fazendo de boné velho. Então essa turma agora eu vou matar nem que seja para morrer na bala. Porque pra cadeia eu não volto.
This is obviously not to say he was a good man. He was a horrible criminal and potentially a psychopath. But this is just to show how flawed this persona of a killer is when we see his personal life and how sad it was. By now, you probably consider Pedro a liar. And that is the path I led you toward, but that is not the full picture. Especially after a call I had with Isa Toledo, his psychoanalyst. Isa told me that Pedrinho had neurological problems, resulting from intrauterine injuries, caused by the father himself. A medical professional actually diagnosed him, confirming he had neural damage, which explains some of his behavior problems. The other thing was that Pedro actually believed in some of his own stories. He wasn't just telling everyone a lie, while knowing it was fake. He believed it. He used these stories as a defense mechanism. The most important part is that Pedro was used by media to sell fantastic stories. They should have checked sources and verified if his crimes were actually real or just a fable, which they didn't.
Blows up, cause it's one hell of a story, and he gets a ton of new fans, and they're all calling him a hero.
At first, I was angry and pretty certain Ray was 100% at fault of spreading more misinformation to the world. But two things changed my perspective. The first is that most of the info on the internet is completely false. There is little information that has any source. The most insane part is that everyone says he killed 71 people, but there is no proof of that. And it seems like almost no one looked up his actual criminal record to fact check.
Se tu matou dentro do presídio, aí sim que tem que ter registro.
Claro.
Porque, tipo, se tu matou dentro da cadeia, isso aí não tem como isso ficar invisível. Ser subregistro. Ficava só com isso, né? Mas aí nunca, pra mim, isso ou é uma pesquisa para um livro, ou... Aí, beleza. Como a vida do Pedrinho se cruza com a do Francisco, e o Pedrinho acabou de morrer, eu falei, cara, dá pra... Se você acabou de morrer e tinha uma investigação pra saber quem matou e ninguém sabia nem quem eram os suspeitos, aí o que eu fiz? Eu fiz isso mais ou menos no primeiro semestre. Eu fiz uma pesquisa bem grande sobre o Pedrinho Matador. Comecei pela psicanalista dele, com a pessoa que atendia ele antes de morrer. Depois fui para as advogadas dele, fui para a justiça, fui para o processo de execução penal dele. E simplesmente eu descobri que ele é o maior engodo que já teve na história criminal do Brasil. Tipo assim, ele matou... Tudo bem que é muito, tá? Ele matou 12.
De 12
mais
pra
12
100.
para 100, para mais de 100.
Porra.
Qual é a ficha corrida desse cara? E aí, ele tem, tipo, 40 processos, mas a maioria é roubo, furto, tentativa de homicídio e lesão corporal.
Tá.
A maioria é isso.
Take for example, Pedrinho's and the widow story Ray tells us about. In Wikipedia Brazil, they cite just one source of it, and it is the wrong paragraph, showing the sloppiness of the page. On Pedrinho's English Wikipedia page, they have a source for this story, but it never explains where it comes from. But it is most likely from verbal testimonies. The source at least talks about Pedrinho's archives, telling us that they are unfortunately unreliable. In one meeting, they shared with Pedrinho that he had only 18 proceedings, which surprised him of how low it was, making the assumption that many of his crimes never got a register. The 70s were particularly bad for prison registers, the most trustable source being verbal testimonies, which can be obviously misleading, especially consider Pedrinho has the habit of changing his stories or creating them, There is also the problem that Pedrinho was arrested during the Brazilian dictatorship, a time where many records got lost or destroyed. Despite Ray is a victim, yes, a perpetuator of fake news, but at least we could say he got bamboozled. But the second thing we need to consider is that Ray probably didn't even use any of the traditional media to do any research. It seems he used ChatGPT to write his entire horrible script that is visible even at the start of the video.
So this YouTuber killed at least 71 different people.
Yes, Ray, he killed 71 different people. He's not some kind of necromancer. Remember the widow story we mentioned before? There are two main points of the story he gets wrong. Botinha, which is the name associated with the widow, appeared a total of 32 times in Pedro's biography, reading by Isa. Pedrinho explained several times that she was killed by the police and that she was pregnant with Luizão's child, the former drug lord. But let's hear the story from Ray.
And he flees to another city about 3 hours away. And there he ends up meeting a local woman, and he thinks she kinda fine. And they move in together, and eventually he gets her pregnant. The thing is, this woman is actually the widow of a former drug lord. And so Pedro, he just kinda takes over her dead husband's drug business. And as the head of this drug business, he starts executing his rivals and whatnot. But one day, around 1970, when Pedro's not at home, I am assuming he's somewhere dealing drugs or unaliving people, who really knows? But while he's gone, some men from a rival gang break into his house, and blam, they unalive pregnant widow.
Furthermore, there are two minor things he gets wrong. In the map, Pedro goes towards Santa Rita do Sapucaí, but Botinha was from Mogi das Cruzes. And in Pedro's story, he was actually with Botinha when she was killed. Your entire script is garbage, and their channel is dangerously close to being featured in a exposed channel like mine, simply because you keep pumping out content non-stop. It's clear you don't care about the validity of the information. You don't even bother listing sources in your descriptions. The existence of your channel is the problem of true crime content. But well, we gotta get the money, am I right? Thank you for watching my video.